What's going on, guys? It is time for another MLB Live Before Lock, and no Eric today. I can't remember exactly what it was. He was texting Jordan and I something. He had to get Percocet because there was a light bulb stuck up his ass or something. I don't know, some sort of issue with Eric. So I'm joined here by Matt Belman. We haven't done a show together in a few weeks. There just hasn't been a time that we've crossed over, but good to be back on the airwaves here with Matt. And if you guys could do us a favor while you're watching, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to Chris Williams. He's already gifted us out here 5 YouTube memberships. So Chris, always appreciate you for supporting us. And small slate today, only 4 games. It's going to be locking at 640. So keep in mind that we do have the 640 lock. I know pretty frequently I'll see people in Discord think they're building their lineups. And all of a sudden they go, oh my God, lock already passed. So make sure you got your lineups in for 640. And then after that, we've got the first slate of week 1 of the college football season. That locks at 7 p.m. Eastern time on DraftKings. It locks at 8 p.m. Eastern time over on FanDuel. And we've got our college football package. It is live today. We've got Sims for college football this year. We've got the single lineup simulator as well for college football. Our Sims packages start at $24.95, and you get 20% off when you sign up with the promo code GameDay. So if you guys want to check out our college football stuff, now's a great time to get in. We've got affordable packages. We got the 20% off promo. Links down below in the YouTube description box. Matt, what's happening, man?
Nothing. It's good to be back here on with you. I was on vacation for a while, then you were, so we're both back in our homelands. I take it, and talking some Thursday night MLB. Yeah, short slate starts early, but I like these slates, so I'm excited to dive in with you.
Yeah, and we'll get right into it here, talking about the pitchers. We'll start with DraftKings. We'll talk a little bit about FanDuel as well. First thing that stands out to me, Matt, there are no expensive pitchers on the slate at all on DraftKings. The most expensive pitcher, Hunter Brown, is $8,900. You got Hunter Brown is $8,900. Charlie Morton's $8,300. Bowden Francis is $8,100. He's been terrific as of late. And the ownership kind of spread out for this slate as well. You got Hunter Brown is 40% owned, and Christopher Sanchez at the low end. We'll talk about him in a little bit. He's 45% owned. And then basically every other pitcher is right around 20% owned, other than Cade Povich, who's 4.6% owned. So let's talk about these pitchers in the 8K range. Hunter Brown, he's the chalk option, 40% owned. Then you got Morton and Francis, each around 20%. If you're rostering one of these 8K pitchers, which direction would you be going in for a tournament?
For me, it's not even close. It's Hunter Brown. I think he's the best pitcher on the slate. I don't love the matchup against the Royals, but I used Tanner Bybee against them yesterday. He wasn't good, but he got enough strikeouts, and that was a wonky 2-game slate anyways. But yeah, I just think Brown is the best pitcher on the slate. And again, no matchup is really that great. So I'll take the talent here. I'm pretty sure Kansas City was the team that destroyed him earlier in the year, where it set him back massively in this same spot. So yeah, I don't think he's a must play, but he's been better than an $8,900 pitcher. And there just aren't a lot of good options. For me, I think Brown and Sanchez really stand out above the field. Sanchez is just a price thing. Brown's a talent play. How about you?
Yeah, so Hunter Brown is the one I get the most exposure to, with the caveat being that I'm underweight to the field. I don't have 40% of him. I have about 30% of Hunter Brown. So I come in a little bit underweight to the field on him. It's Hunter Brown 1, Bowden Francis 2, Charlie Morton 3, which ultimately means a little bit underweight to the field there on Hunter Brown. I'm a little bit overweight to the field on Bowden Francis, and also a little bit underweight to the field on Charlie Morton, who he's 40 years old now. He's struggled a little bit as of late. I think it's just age. It's totally reasonable to think a pitcher who is, how long has he been in the big leagues now? I think he's also had multiple Tommy John surgery, if I remember that correctly. And yeah, he's been pitching in the big leagues since, 2008. He's been in the big leagues for 16 years now. He's 40 years old. He turns 41 in a couple of months. So it's not really shocking that you're starting to see a little bit of degradation in the talent level of Charlie Morton. 4.24 ERA, 4.65 expected ERA. His strikeout rate of 23.9%. That's the lowest mark he's had since 2015, back when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And, the Pittsburgh Pirates, they get all kinds of good pitching prospects. They fuck them up. Teams acquire these pitchers. They end up being better than they were with Pittsburgh. And Charlie Morton is one of those guys. He was there. Garrett Cole was another one. And now you just got a guy who's been in the big leagues for forever. He's also got a tough matchup today going up against the Philadelphia Phillies. So he's my least favorite of those pay up options. I get some lineups with him, but like if I was building one single entry line, Charlie Morton wouldn't be the one for me. Bowden Francis, if you're picking one of the lower owned guys between Morton and Francis, would Francis be your guy?
Man, I don't really like either of them. Matter of fact, I'm playing a lot of Red Sox and I'm playing a lot of Phillies. So if forced to choose, probably Francis, but I'm personally, again, I'm playing 5 lineups tonight. I'm not playing either of them. My pitching pool is very condensed, playing Brown, Sanchez, and then I am playing a little Povich, who we'll get to. So yeah, I don't like Francis or Morton enough over Brown to use them here, and it's such a small slate.
Fair enough. So let's talk about some of these cheaper pitchers, and let's look at let's just talk about all the rest of the guys together. Everybody who's below 8K. You got Brady Singer, Cutter Crawford, Bobby Miller, Christopher Sanchez, Cade Povich. Povich is the only unowned pitcher on the slate. He's only pulling 5% ownership. Christopher Sanchez, he's the most popular pitcher on the slate, 45% on. This is really easy. If you guys are playing a cash game or you just want to know who the best 2 points per dollar pitchers are, it's pretty clearly Hunter Brown and Christopher Sanchez, your safe options on the slate. There's a reason why they're pulling more ownership than everybody else. One other thing, too, have you seen the Dodgers lineup that just came out?
I did. A little bit funky.
Yeah, it's not great.
Cheap.
You've got
so go ahead.
Ohtani and Betts at the top. Like, yeah, that's problematic. Then Teoscar Hernandez. But then Edman, Rojas, Kike Hernandez, Taylor, Lux, Barnes. This is a pretty watered down version of the lineup for the Dodgers because it's no Will Smith in the lineup, no Freddie Freeman in the lineup. I mean, you got Tommy Edman batting 4th.
I mean,
for them.
I'll say this. I agree with you, except for the Edman point. I think it drops off hard after Edman, not at Edman. I agree. Like, he's not a cleanup hitter, but he is good against left-handed pitching. Like, there was times last year, I mentioned this on a show recently, maybe with Lindquist, maybe Emac, I can't remember. He was like 5K leading off for the Cardinals. Now, different spot, but he's got power and speed upside. Like, personally, I'm total in agreement with you, but I include Edman in the 4 that's really good, personally.
Yeah, and by the way, somebody in chat, it said, where was it? Rigg said he's not seeing Pajes in the single lineup generator. So a couple of things. Number one, he's not in the lineup for the Dodgers. And another part, too, is he wasn't projected to be in the lineup, which is why
he's in the minors.
Wouldn't show up. Oh, sorry, what's that?
I'm pretty sure he's in the minors.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he's not in the lineup today. He might be in the minors. I'm not totally sure on that, but yeah, it's good reason that he isn't in the single lineup simulator. And then something else also, when the new lineup comes through, it usually takes a couple minutes, not like a long time, but a couple minutes for it to update. It's not like the lineup comes through and then it's immediately reflected in all of our data. It takes a couple of minutes for it to update. And let's see, it might be live now though. See if we have the Dodgers lineup updated. We do, as of 2 minutes ago. So everything's updated now for the Dodgers lineup, at least as far as projections go. And then it's going to be ownership updated shortly thereafter. So tell me what it is that you like about Povich, because it seemed like you were at least somewhat interested in him before we even got the Dodgers lineup.
Yeah, I am a little bit. Couple of reasons. First off, I'll acknowledge that, like, I wouldn't say the worst pitcher on the slate. The slate is filled with like just average to okay pitchers. So you could call him the worst pitcher on the slate. I'd probably say it's Bobby Miller right now, but we're quibbling. He's 5,300. He's a full-time starter, so he's stretched out. He's been good in the minors. He's one of the Baltimore's better pitching prospects. Hasn't been great in the majors, but he's so cheap, and he's facing a really chalky Dodgers offense. So there's expensive bats I like, Boston, Philly, who I mentioned. And the Dodgers are going to be the highest owned team on the slate, even with this crappy lineup. So the leverage is real. The price is really, really low. I'm aware that there's major blow-up potential here. That's why the Dodgers are going to be really highly owned. But I think Povich is too good to be this cheap and be the guy that's being stacked against the most, personally. That's basically all it is. I know he only has a 9.2% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, but he's also the highest leverage guy on the slate. So I don't know. I'm playing a little bit of him, not a ton. I think he's in play at that price point in tournaments.
He's so low owned that I have him in 10% of lineups right now. And that was before we had the update for the Dodgers
I mean,
lineup. So maybe this ultimately doesn't change my Povich exposure just because he might be a little bit more popular now that the Dodgers lineup is as watered down as it is. But I've 10% exposure to him right now at about 5% expected ownership. So I'm about double the field in large field GPPs here on Povich. He's the most sensible, or I should say the least path of resistance to making a lineup contrarian. You just plug Povich
right.
in, and then you've got, unlimited salary to play with there. He's obviously a very talented pitcher. He's one of the top pitching prospects coming into the season. Like you had mentioned that he does have a high prospect pedigree, does Cade Povich. I don't love him, but it's a 4-game slate and he's very low owned, and it's hard to find other pitchers that are low owned to be getting to because there are no other ones. Every other pitcher is like at least 20% owned other than Cade Povich. So yeah, I think there's reasons to like him for a contrarian option. I wouldn't play him in single entry, but yeah, if you're playing like 4 or 5 lineups, like you had said, Matt, I think it's fine to throw Cade Povich into one of them. And I've got 10% of them across the lineups that I'm running out for today. As far as the other cheap options go, I think it's pretty clear that if you're playing a bunch of lineups, the one you want the most exposure to is Christopher Sanchez. The matchup isn't great or anything like that. He just should be more expensive than 6,900.
I mean, he's probably the second best pitcher on the slate. Like, there's just no reason for him to be this cheap. It's baseball. So if you told me you were stacking the Braves, like 4-game slate against the chalkiest pitcher, I don't think it's a bad move. But he's not only getting love because he's so cheap, he's also good. He's not great, but he's good and he's cheap. I think he's the second best overall pitcher on the slate. And he's, second. He's the second cheapest. So I'm playing a lot of Sanchez. I just think you have to.
Any of these other cheap pitchers that are interesting to you for any reason?
The one guy that's interesting to me, and I'm playing another team I'm playing is Baltimore against him, but Bobby Miller showed signs last start. Now, the reason I'm playing Baltimore is because that start was against Tampa, and he still gave up home runs. I mean, he is giving up hard contact. So Baltimore, I think they're due, and I'm playing some against him. But I do think that as far as upside goes, like I'd play him over Francis and Morton and Crawford and all these other guys personally if I were playing a bunch of lineups.
Let's see. What do I have for? Yeah, I don't have very much of Bobby Miller. I'm underweight to the field on him. Not like crazy. So I've got exposure to him in the teens, and he's projected for around 20% ownership. The problem I have with Bobby Miller, other than the fact that he has
He
been
stinks.
terrible this year, he's been a particularly terrible at times that I've rostered him as well. So maybe I've got a little bit of a bias there. I try not to, but then also you look at the numbers for him overall for the year, they are miserable. He's got all of the talent in the world, and it's not just his big league starts. They even send him down to the minor leagues because he was struggling so much at the big league level. He was terrible in the minor leagues also. So his major league numbers this year, he's got a 7.49 ERA, a 6.49 expected ERA. So they send him down to the minor leagues to try to get some rehab starts to build his confidence up. He had a 9.95 ERA in A ball, a 5.82 ERA in AAA ball, and now they're calling him back up at the end of the season to try to get him more big league reps. I get that he's going to have good starts here and there because he's got an electric arm and really good stuff. The overall numbers for him are unbelievably underwhelming, though. So I really like stacking against him.
Yeah, I'm playing a good amount of Baltimore. I'm not playing any Bobby Miller. Again, if that last start had come against like anyone else besides Tampa or Seattle, I'd be higher on him. But we've seen what Tampa's done recently. And yeah, he had a lot of strikeouts, but he also gave up like the most hits and runs that Tampa scored in a while. So he's just not good. His stuff, again, when he's on, like his first start of the year was one of the best starts of any pitcher in baseball against St. Louis of all teams. Since then, though, I think he's only gotten double-digit fantasy points one time. So I'm all in on Baltimore, too.
Yeah, Baltimore is currently my most rostered offense and by a pretty wide margin as well. Let's go into Discord and see if there's any questions that came in for us. If not, we'll move on to talking about the FanDuel pitchers. I see we got Ram 33 sent a lineup in Discord. I'll text it to you, Jordan, to plug into the single lineup sims, and we could do a little bit of a review on that and maybe offer some suggestions on changes if it shows up as negative ROI. But there, Jordan, I just texted you that lineup there. Let's look at the FanDuel pitchers now, Matt. Unless, do you have anything else you want to add about the DK pitchers?
Mm-mm.
All right. FanDuel side of things, we have a little bit of a different makeup of pitchers to be talking about, just from the standpoint of that you only have to roster one of these pitchers over on FanDuel. And then it's also, let's see, the main slate on FanDuel.
So I think the main slate was the day slate for FanDuel.
Yeah, it is the day slate. I'm just checking if they only put, so they've got all 4 of the games on for the night slate. Sometimes they break them up kind of weird, but we've got the Philly Atlanta game, same 4 games that are on the DK slate are also on the FanDuel slate. Pricing is different though. Bowden Francis is your most expensive pitcher over on FanDuel, priced at $9,800. Then you got Hunter Brown at $9,700, Morton $8,800, Singer $8,600. Christopher Sanchez is also more expensive relatively at $8,200. If you're building one FanDuel lineup, Matt, what direction would you be going in for pitcher?
I think I'm just going to roster Hunter Brown and call it a day.
Yeah.
I think he's just the best pitcher on the slate, and I'll get different elsewhere. How about you?
Yeah, Hunter Brown for me as well. He's going to be the most popular pitcher over on FanDuel, but it's hard for me to justify Christopher Sanchez over Hunter Brown. You consider you're not getting the salary savings like you're getting on DraftKings. You've got Christopher Sanchez, like I said, $8,200 as opposed to $6,900. And then Hunter Brown isn't even the most expensive pitcher on FanDuel. Bowden Francis is. So to me, it is Hunter Brown. If I was going with somebody else, maybe Cutter Crawford at $7,800. He does profile a little bit better on FanDuel than DraftKings just because he is live to get the quality start bonus, the win bonus, things along those lines. And then also the stuff like the hits he allows, it's not quite as impactful over on FanDuel. So if I wanted to get contrarian, Cutter Crawford is the guy I would go to it on FanDuel at only $7,800. That's also something that makes him look better on FanDuel than DraftKings, is that he is cheaper relatively at that $7,800 price tag. So he's my contrarian option. I like Hunter Brown the most overall, though. Do you have a contrarian option you like at all on FanDuel, or just Hunter Brown to go to?
I think it's just Hunter Brown. One more thing about Povich that, again, slipped my mind because it's not huge because they are using righties, but no Muncy either, which is home run upside. So again, you mentioned it. No Smith, no Freeman, no Muncy. I mean, again, it's not a good spot, but it makes it a little bit better. So yeah, for me on FanDuel, it's just Hunter Brown and moving on.
And all right, no more questions. You guys do have questions for us, hit me up in the Discord channel, throw it into YouTube chat, and we could address that. Let's see. How did that lineup from Ram look? Pretty damn good. One of the higher sim ROIs we've seen from a lineup that was submitted to us on the show. So Ram, who's going with Crawford and Sanchez as his pitchers. And then it looks like he's got, a Philly stack in here. Yeah, 69% sim ROI. I'm not going to tell you to change anything with the lineup that looks that good. So Ram, I think you are good to go there. Let's see what we have for a super chat. One from Chris Williams says, great show, guys. Hit the like button. Question, since NFL is right around the corner, any chance of a single lineup tool promo, just that tool alone? So, Chris, the answer is yes and no. The reason the answer is yes is because we're going to be running a promo. I was just going over some of the details earlier, and there's going to be a very good promo that we're going to be announcing possibly as soon as tomorrow. I think you guys are going to be really excited about. Also, our packages are all completely redone. So if you, Jordan, could you pull up the package page on the screen? We could show people. Go to NFL. No, NFL. Yeah. So if you look here, we have now, number one, more affordable packages, and also everything's been redone. So you see the light package that we have there. So the light package, that's going to be projections in terms of player projections, ownership projections, single lineup simulator, and then also projections for pick'em sites like Prize Picks, things along those lines. That starts at less than $20 per week. And then what's the monthly price, Jordan? And then the monthly, it's $69.95 a month. So that is going to get you the single lineup simulator. And personally, I think it's pretty fairly priced. And then, yes, we're also going to be running a promo that is going to be starting potentially as soon as tomorrow. And it's going to be a very favorable one. So the answer is yes there, but not where you could like only get the single lineup simulator. Because think of it this way, like it has our projections and our ownership projections in it. So like you would just have to get that as part of it as well. But still, like we've got price points that are much lower this year than it was in last year. It was something that was requested by a lot of people for good reason. That's one of the reasons that we built the single lineup simulators, because it doesn't cost as much to maintain for us as it does the Sims. We're able to offer it at a lower price point. So hopefully, Chris, that is something that you are looking forward to there, and that meets the demands of what it is that you're looking for. Was there any other? Let me see. Was there another part of his super chat, by the way? Did you ask a baseball question? No. All right, so we've got that all settled. But if you have another question you want to ask about baseball, Chris, just throw it into YouTube. You don't have to leave another super chat there. Let's talk about some stacks here, Matt, because it looks like we are answered up on all of those questions. Single entry. If you're building one lineup today, picking one team to stack, what direction would you be going in for single entry?
It's between three teams. I've kind of given it up already with the Red Sox, Phillies, and Orioles. Those are the three teams I'm playing. If I had to choose one, I'm gonna say that Baltimore, just because Miller's the worst pitcher of the bunch, and all ownership is the same on this slate for almost everyone except for the Dodgers. So I think if you don't play the Dodgers, you're different enough. And I'm not playing the Dodgers, so I'm playing the Red Sox, the Phillies, and the Orioles. Now, if I were playing 150, I'd certainly have some Dodgers, but I think the Dodgers are going to be crazy high owned in like the higher stakes, single entry, 4-entry max type stuff. So I'm playing a little bit of them as one-offs, but I'm not playing the full 5-man. And I really like the spot all those other teams are in. So Baltimore, Philly, Boston. If forced to choose, I'm going to say Baltimore, though. How about you?
To me, the direction that, and not that I think this is the team that overall like profiles the best on the slate necessarily. They're actually at the bottom of the top stacks tool, but still the most positively leveraged team on the entire slate. And I do have them currently as my second most rostered team. So the team I have the most exposure to overall right now is the Baltimore Orioles. The team I have the second most exposure to, it's the Atlanta Braves, and it's solely for ownership purposes. And this is going to be even more magnified in single entry. We have the Braves projected for 7% ownership. There's only two teams on the entire slate with sub 10% ownership. It's the Kansas City Royals, the Atlanta Braves. They're going up against the two most popular pitchers on the slate. I don't think that the Braves going up against Christopher Sanchez is like a terrible, terrible matchup for them. It's not a great matchup, but it's not like they're going up against a true ace. These are the spots I love to attack pitchers. And when you get a chalk pitcher who isn't a real ace and a guy like Christopher Sanchez, and the Braves actually have a good offense, and it's a hitter-friendly park, I think that Christopher Sanchez, while being one of the top pitching options on the slate, is still somebody you get a lot of leverage stacking against. I've been playing the Braves for leverage on a lot of recent slates. Pitchers just continue to be chalky against them. I think in single entry, you get the Braves like 4% owned as a stack, and Christopher Sanchez might be like 60% owned.
So I differ a little bit in that I've also played the Braves I played them against Ober on that rain night, and I had a really good night that night. And I've played pitchers against them because they are striking out against righties. I played David Festa last night against them. He was phenomenal. So I'm with you on your points about Sanchez is popular because of his price, and he's not an ace. He's not an ace, but to me, he's the second best pitcher on the slate. So like, yeah, he's getting love because of the price tag, and I never mind picking on pitchers like that. But like, he's also like, to me at least, better than every other pitcher on this slate except for Hunter Brown. So I get the Braves. I think the ownership is low enough and the slate is small enough where I certainly get the merits of going there. My other big problem is that I do feel like not everyone, but almost everyone who doesn't play Sanchez in the 121 or 250, that stuff is going to stack the Braves. So enough people are doing it where I don't want to do it, but I certainly, again, get the merit. Won't be shocked at all if Sanchez gets blown up. He doesn't give up a ton of power, but still the Braves. I mean, they've been a lot better lately, and I'm with you. Like, I get it. No arguments well, I did have arguments, but I totally get your side of it.
Yeah, and it's really just due to ownership. The ownership on Sanchez is high enough, and the ownership on the Braves is low enough to where that's the spot I would want to attack for single entry. Large field GPPs. I mean, Sanchez is my most rostered pitcher on the slate, but I'm still way overweight to the Braves as a stack. It's it's a 4-game slate. If you're playing 150 lineups, like I am in some of the lower dollar stuff, it's just, you're going to have some amount of exposure to a little bit of everything, considering it's a 4-game slate. But where I'm actually making stands, I like being overweight to the Braves as an offense. If we're talking about large field GPPs, which offense is the one you think warrants the most exposure overall for the slate?
Just real quick on the Braves, like the tools say that you're right, and I'm a fool here because we have Sanchez coming in over-owned, albeit, the second best pitcher on the slate, and the Braves coming in under-owned. So I totally get it. I was just throwing my arguments out. You might be right, though. Like, I don't know what the point is, but there's certainly a point where Sanchez just becomes way too owned and the Braves are way too low owned. We'll see if it gets to that number. I'm not exactly sure what it is. For me, the one offense that if you're playing, 150 that you want to have the most exposure to is probably the Dodgers. But again, that's not how I'm playing. So, I like Boston a lot here. I know Francis has been good lately, but coming off that almost no hitter where he gave up a run or two in like the 8th or 9th, I like picking on pitchers like that when they're coming out for their next start, when they're not aces. And Francis is not an ace in my mind. I picked on him a lot earlier in the year and he wasn't good. He made some changes to his pitch mix and his repertoire, and he's clearly shown improvements. Still not buying this is who he is, though. And I think Boston's upside is real. So for me, they're the team I'd have the most of.
I hear you on the point that Bowden Francis, he's pitched really well as of late, but he also went, I don't remember the exact, it was well over 100 pitches because he had the no-hitter going into the later stages of the game. Then he gives up the late hit. And prior to that, he was cruising along. But yeah, sometimes there are repercussions. Sorry, what was that?
117. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not really a knock on him necessarily. But yeah, there's certainly a case where he's just fatigued coming off his last start. That's the most pitches he's thrown by a lot in the entire course of his big league career. So I do think that warrants some consideration to the Red Sox for sure. The team that I'm getting the most exposure to, which you guys were listening, I brought it up at the top. It's the Baltimore Orioles. I'm surprised they're not more popular going up against Bobby Miller. The Dodgers, I thought their ownership was going to come down, not to the point where they'd be like contrarian or anything, but I didn't think the Dodgers are going to remain over 20% owned with that lineup they were throwing out. So I'm underweight to the field on the Dodgers now pretty significantly. I have 5% exposure to 5-man stacks of the Dodgers. I have north of 30% exposure to 5-man stacks of the Baltimore Orioles. For all the reasons I mentioned before about Bobby Miller, 7.49 ERA, 6.49 expected ERA. He's been terrible in the big leagues. He's got some of the best stuff in baseball. It just hasn't led to results. They sent him down to the minor leagues. 9.95 ERA in A-ball, 5.82 ERA in AAA. Underlying numbers also terrible. He hasn't generated strikeouts in the minor leagues either, which is really concerning. I don't know if he has an injury or there's something else broken with him, but it is crazy to me, Matt, that in A-ball, do you know what his strikeout rate was in his A-ball starts?
No, tell me.
12.5%.
That's crazy.
And AAA, 16.7%.
I wrote about him last week in one of my contrarian articles, and he has just been so bad, as you're alluding to. The only reason he's up and pitching for them right now is because of the Glasnow injury, also missing Yamamoto. Dodgers are dealing with some stuff with their pitching staff. Yeah, it's the only reason. I'm surprised that he's honestly getting another start here. I guess it's because he was decent against Tampa, but won't be surprised at all if this is the start that gets him sent back down. Baltimore's in a really good spot. I'm with you.
Yeah, so that's going to be the team that I have the most of, and I've got everything updated for the Dodgers lineup. I'm uploading it right now. And yeah, the Dodgers are the team that I'm the most underweight to. And it's really just because it looks like the field hasn't reacted appropriately to me with it being a watered down version of the lineup. It's not to say it's a bad spot for them against Cade Povich. I just don't think they should be double the ownership, basically double the ownership of every other offense on the slate. They're too popular for me. So underweight to the field for me on the Dodgers, getting overweight to the Orioles. Are there any other contrarian stacks? Contrarian we're kind of using loosely here because there's the Royals and the Braves on the low end. There's the Dodgers on the high, and then every other team in between has the same ownership. Anything else that's notable to you that you either want to bring up about offenses or any other points?
I just think that to your Dodgers point, The reason the ownership is so high is because of the top four. Maybe Kike Hernandez also. And it makes it so hard to play them because you don't want to play the other guys. And the top four are easier to play now. There's no expensive pitching. So, yeah, I mean, I do think if you're playing the Dodgers, you want to look to get different elsewhere. It's hard to get away from them, though, on a small slate. I totally get it.
See if there was any other questions that came in here. We just got the Orioles lineup. Let's see. Is there anything unexpected about the Orioles lineup? Hopefully not. I don't want to have to rerun everything again here. Let's compare the Orioles lineup to the projected lineup. All right. So Cowser, Rushman, Henderson, Santander, Ryan O'Hearn, Eloy Jimenez, Cedric Mullins, Ramon Urias, Jackson Holliday. Cool. Same lineup as was projected. So don't have to make any kind of changes there. I think we did have Jackson Holliday projected back 9th and Urias or Holiday 8th and Urias 9th, so they flip. But that's not going to make any kind of difference. So we're all good to go there. That is the Baltimore Orioles lineup. Any other final thoughts here, Matt? If not, we could do our home run picks and wrap it up for the night.
Yeah, let's do our home run picks. I think that was the last lineup we're waiting for. So no surprises, which is nice. Yeah, you want to start us off?
Yeah, man. And if you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to get your home run pick out there, throw it into the chat so we can read it off. Let's see. So for me, I kind of have to go with the Baltimore Oriole. Let me see. Who do I have the most exposure to from the Orioles? Easy enough. Gunnar Henderson's in a third of my lineups. He's projected for ownership in the teens. So I am about 2.5x the field on Gunnar Henderson. Don't have to relitigate why I think that it's a good match for him against Bobby Miller. So Gunnar Henderson, that's my dong pick of the day. Matt, what are you going with tonight?
I'm going to go with another Oriole, a much more low-key one. Give me Ramon Urias, hot right now. Just scorching the ball, seeing the ball well, hitting in that 8th hole, cheap, at a weak third base position. So I'm going to continue with the Baltimore theme. Give me Ramon Urias.
You're not the only one. EMAC also going with Ramon Urias.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
Urias picks.
Don't put that on me, EMAC. Don't. Oh, God.
Let's see what we've got from chat here. We've got Michael Kennedy is going with Kyle Schwarber. Michael Surek is also going with Kyle Schwarber. Anthony Santander from Max Video 35. Matt Olson from William Westry. Taco 933. He's going with Jorge Soler. Anthony Harris is going with Bryce Harper. We've got 3 home run picks from Nice Kevin. He's going with Schwarber, Cowser, and Duran. We've got Kyle Schwarber from Malukar. Brandon Marsh from Reg Kell. Donnie Boone is going with Ryan O'Hearn. Then we've got David Wayne. He's going with Barger, Schwarber, and Varsho. We've got YouTube Hip is going with Duran or Shohei Ohtani to homer today. Mookie Betts is the pick from BX44. Salvador Perez from Caleb Garink. We've got Jose Altuve from Matt Riley. Vlad Jr. from B Funk. Yanier Diaz from Francisco Rubio. Bryce Harper from Chad Wiseman. Adley Rushman from Steve McGee. Colton Cowser from Chris Williams. Tristan Cassis from Jake Swales. Then we've got Duran as well from Ryan Stubbs. Only one way to close out the show. Jordan, the most important home run pick of the day. Who are you going with tonight?
Ohtani go home run tonight.
I was going to say, it's been a minute since Jordan's gone with Shohei Ohtani. So getting back to his roots with a Shohei Ohtani homer. And then Malukar followed up by throwing Teoscar Hernandez in there as well. So guys, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. College football, first slate of week 1 that is going to be locking here in 24 minutes. If you want to sign up at the site, links are down below in the YouTube description box. Promo code GameDay. Get yourself 20% off. That deal is going to be running through the weekend, and then it's gone. So take advantage of it while you can. Good luck with all your lineups today, guys. Both baseball as well as college football. Have a good night. See you back here tomorrow.